Well, good morning, YouTube. Long time no see. I hope you've had a wonderful week with your students. This is, I think, the first time I've posted since our break, and that was because last week I got the flu. I am feeling so much better. It was actually very short-lived. I would say probably around day 4, I was feeling 100 times better. Thank God for the flu shot. But yes, I am back this week, back for a full week. Next week should be a short week because we do have Monday off, so that'll be nice. But I thought what I could do with you today is just do a little vlog, tell you what's been going on, show you what I'm doing in my classes. I always love to show you the stations that I'm doing with my kids. And so my honors kids are studying intermolecular forces, and then my AP kids are studying kinetics. So the station set is for my honors students. I'm very excited for them to engage with it. They've been doing this over the course of the day yesterday, and then this is the second day of stations. So with intermolecular forces, usually what I do is I introduce the 4 major types like right off the bat. The first quiz that they take is specifically on London dispersion forces, dipole-dipole hydrogen bonding, but they don't have a whole lot of time to look at ion dipole. So the stations are supposed to help them understand a little bit more about ion dipole. And it's a nice segue because we've already talked about ionic compounds and have drawn Lewis structures. So today's station set will focus on ion dipole interaction, specifically related to drawing models. So they'll be doing some particulate models, and then they'll also be including some dissociation equations. So I'm really excited to show you the setup for that. But before I do, I actually have to head to duty. I'm going to quickly set up the stations before I run to duty, but then I will check in with you after my second period class. I just finished with my period 2 class, and they did a fantastic job on the ion dipole stations. As I mentioned, this was the second day that they did it, so I had a chance to check in with them today and make sure they were comfortable with it, and it wasn't like very stressful for them because what was nice about this station set is that they were able to actually have some choice in terms of which stations they did. There was one station that was required, and then there were 2 stations that they could choose from. So this first station that was required was a station that includes a puzzle. So I thought I could show you the puzzle that I made. So it's a particle diagram, and in this particle diagram, it's kind of shiny because I did laminate it because a lot of students would be touching it. But in this particle diagram, I'm basically showing them how to write a dissociation equation and how to model it. And so for this station, I didn't want them to copy down the model. Instead, I wanted them to use Lewis structures instead. So this kind of was a working model that they were focusing on. And then the question sheet that I provided to them actually directed them through how to draw this using Lewis structures. This is a really nice segue, especially if you've done ionic bonding, right? You've done the naming, and then you've done obviously the formula writing and all that. This is a really nice segue to go right into ion dipole because they know a lot about ionic compounds already. And again, this was a great phenomenon that we did early on as well. So now it's coming full circle where they're actually held responsible for writing dissociation equations. What I do is I print it in color and then I laminate it, and then you can see I have to obviously cut out all the pieces. I don't know if you can see, but there is some lines in here. So I'm going to cut out all the pieces, and then the students will put it together. So it's a little brain break, right? They put the puzzle together, and then there's a question sheet that goes along with all of the different parts of the model and asking guiding questions so they can get all the important information that they need from this model. The second station is a modeling station as well, but for this station, my students are using those little cup of molecules. They call it, I guess, a cup of water from 3D molecular designs. And this also has a questions sheet that goes along with it. And basically it asks the students to reflect on the pieces of the model, what each piece means. I like this station because it reviews a lot of content. Like for example, it reviews ionic size, and it asks them like, which is going to represent the sodium ion, which is going to represent the chloride ion. And then again, it instructs the students to basically take the sodium chloride formula unit, put it into this little tray, and then the students can shake up the tray and see how the water molecules attach to the ions. So this is a really nice station because it incorporates some of those manipulatives. Students can actually like touch them and see them. I also like to incorporate the use of an ethane molecule, and one of the cool things about ethane is the students can see that Ethane is not attracted to the water. It just kind of slides around the water molecules. So that also leads into a discussion of solubility a little bit later on. The other nice thing about this station is it does ask the students about boiling point elevation, saturated and unsaturated solutions. So I do like to include some extension questions as well. And I do have samples of saturated and unsaturated sodium chloride solutions so that the students can examine them. In the third station, my students are specifically focusing on reading about a phenomenon. And so the phenomenon they'll be looking at is looking at salting roads. Like, why do we use salt on the winter roads? And so this is a really nice segue, again, into solution formation, but the focus for this is really more colligative properties, but it still does incorporate that ion-dipole interaction. And what's nice about this particular station is that the students are expected to read and annotate, and then they're expected to pick out 3 really important facts that they feel will help them aid in their understanding of ion-dipole. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get as far as I wanted to today, so they really just had enough time to do the required station and then to do one of their selections. But one of the things I was hoping to do was an exit ticket. So with the exit ticket, I am going to ask them to do this tomorrow first thing in class so that they can reflect on whether or not they understood the stations. As far as what I'm doing with my AP students later on today, we are focusing on kinetics, and we are going to be doing some integrated rate law practice where they're going to be doing some graphs and analyzing graphs, and then we're going to move into an AP FRQ. And I don't really know if I've talked to you about how I do FRQs, but I will describe it to you now. So basically, I selected an FRQ that was specifically related to what we're studying, and with the FRQ, the students have the ability to work with their learning team to complete the questions. I've done it one of 2 ways, where they work together the entire time to complete the FRQ. I usually do that when it's a more difficult FRQ. They are not allowed any electronic devices during this time. All they're allowed is their formula sheet, periodic table, and calculator. And they work as a team to kind of figure out what the FRQ is asking, and then we go over the scoring guidelines. The other way I've done it, and I do this more for, like, I would say easier FRQs, I will have the students come together with their learning team, no pens, no pencils, no electronic devices, no calculators. They have the ability to see the question, talk about the question, but they can't write anything down. I have a timer that runs for about 5 to 7 minutes where they can talk about the questions, and then at the end of that time, they grab their pencils and their pens and their calculator, and they work the question individually. And so I like that method a little bit better because I feel like it actually reflects what the students know, but I do understand that the AP class is very challenging, so I do try to only use that strategy whenever the students are doing an easier type of FRQ, not so much the difficult one. And since my students are just learning about integrated rate laws, I think today my focus, I want to give them the opportunity to work together in their team. The other thing that I've been investigating is this. And I don't know if you've went out and purchased this, but this is the new AP Pogo book, and kind of in love, guys. I gotta tell you, I'm a big fan, and if you don't have a copy of this, you probably should get one. They have such amazing activities, and I am totally loving the mechanism one. I wanna say it's activity number 28, something like that. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Yes, so it's on reaction mechanisms and energy diagrams. And I love this so much because it brings it back to collision theory. They have some great particle models, right? So they got particle models and they've got the energy diagrams. I've never done this one before because this is, like I said, in the new book, but I'm excited to try this. And so the only thing that I think I will need to teach just by looking at it at first glance is I don't think there's anything in here about steady state approximation, but at least this sets the baseline for what mechanisms are, how to write them. It looks like we include unimolecular, bimolecular, termolecular, how to write the rate laws from it. So this is, I think, going to be a great one. So I'm thinking I'm going to probably try this with the kids tomorrow, but I always like to do the POGL myself and then reflect on it. And then if I feel like I need to make changes, I will do that. But I think this will be a great way to start my discussion of mechanisms with the students. And then we are almost done. I can't believe we're already in kinetics, right? Marking period 3 is when we really get into the challenging stuff. I have about 10 minutes until my prep period ends. So one of the things that I have to do is I have to cut out this. So I want to do that before that starts. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll check in with you during lunchtime to tell you how my second honors class went. Well, I made it to the end of the day. Man, today was a very busy day, went by very quickly, but my AP students did great. I gave them a fairly challenging FRQ today, but they did awesome. There's this really helpful PDF that I want to say Adrian Dingle put together that I've been using a lot to pull old FRQ questions that are pertinent to the topics that we've covered. And I used that and I was able to search up an FRQ and I just handed it out to the students and they did a phenomenal job with it. So I like to grade them pretty timely. So I'll probably grade those tonight and then return them tomorrow so that they have an opportunity to reflect on how they did. And then they will have their summative assessment next week. So that will keep them nice and busy. And then I can't believe it, they have a quarterly coming up. It's our second quarterly. It's unbelievable. This year is just going by so quickly, but now we're getting into the really hard stuff. So the next chapter we'll be working on is equilibrium, all things equilibrium. So it's gonna be a rough ride, but it's going to absolutely be very rewarding for the students, and I'm excited to see how they do with it. So I think that is it for me. Tonight is date night, so I am gonna go grab a bite to eat, but I wanted to say I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It was just like a quick vlog of all the things that I'm doing with my students. I hope you're doing well, and as always, I welcome your feedback on this video. If you want to know anything else about some of the things that I have planned, by all means leave a comment down below. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll be sure to check in with you all very soon.